family. My name is Heather Green. I'm the executive director here at Lord's Gym City Center, and I have the pleasure of sitting with Joey. Joey is the City Center's board chair, founder, and he is the senior pastor at Oasis Church here in Stockton.
Awesome.
So today, we're going to take you guys behind the scenes. As you guys see behind us, our sign came off the building this week, and we want to share a little bit about what's coming.
You know, I'm so excited, Heather, because in the midst of all of our pandemic and everything that's been happening, it's really got us to reassign our purpose and focus back on what the meaning of City Center, Oasis Church is really all about, igniting hope and helping people. And I'm excited about this new venture, this new season, if you will, in the midst of so much heartache and people having fear and uncertainty. There's one thing that would stabilize people is hope. And I think that's what the City Center, of course, Oasis Church, but a lot of people know, as this is streaming on both platforms, Oasis Church and the Lord's Gym City Center, there's a lot of people that don't realize that we're one. And I think post-COVID, taking us to this new season to really unify the fact that Oasis Church was the driving force and the founding conception of the Lord's Gym City Center. But after this pandemic has hit and all of the amazing things that the City Center, Oasis Church has done, it has been very, very evident that the post-COVID, if you will, that means after the virus, after people get back to normal kind of day-to-days, is bringing the two entities into a place where the community would see and know what we've always done, I should say, is drive that hope, help people wherever they have that need.
Yeah. Well, you said something really interesting. You had said that Oasis really was behind the founding of the City Center. Can you share, because we haven't been able to really share with our City Center family a whole lot about why the City Center exists? Because this building that we're sitting in has sat dormant, almost 13 years before you guys acquired it. But there's a reason why when you walk in, you see this really awesome fitness equipment and you see a basketball court and an area for kids. And now you have an amazing food pantry that's serving 75,000 people since the pandemic started. Can you share why? Like, why does a facility like this exist for our community? Why and how did you come about being a part of that?
Sure. Well, I appreciate the question because in 1997, I had made a mess of my life. I was in my early 20s and I was a two-time convicted felon, and I had been in and out of youth authority. I'd been on my own since I was 11, so I experienced a lot of pain that a lot of people go through, of homelessness, of addicted parents, of parents that were not able to take care of their children. And so I experienced a lot of pain at a very young age. So the vast majority of my youth was surrounded by problems, surrounded by pain. And when I was 22, I was invited to a church, and I'd never been to church in my life, but this church had an outreach center, a community center there in Northern California, in the Sacramento area. And so when I went to this church, they had a place for kids, young people. And it so resonated with me, it helped me. And I gave my heart to the Lord. My life was forever changed, and I started traveling, speaking to kids all over America, and I'd go into different churches, different denominations, and I would always tell the pastor or the people in the church, hey, you need to start a center for kids. You need to, the thing that helped me when I was young and when I had no purpose and I didn't know what I was doing, you need to do that, and it can help your community. Well, you fast forward to 2010, I had been traveling all over America until 2010. And my wife and I were asked to pastor a church at the time that was a denominational church that was struggling. It had about 50 congregants, and through a lot of prayer and petition, we said yes to that assignment. And so in 2010, because that's what I knew, the first thing I said is we have to start a center for kids. We have to get them off the streets and help them. What helped me? And in that, we started the first Lord's Gym. The reason why we used the name, because that's all I knew at the time, because I hadn't started Oasis Church yet. Oasis Church was birthed in my heart prior, but that wasn't in the landscape yet. And so we started the Lord's Gym just as a result of what my past was. And so the first January 2010, we had hundreds of teenagers come in there. It was an 8,000 square foot facility.
Not too far from here.
Not too far from where we're at now. And we renovated it, took out a $90,000 loan to renovate it from one of the wonderful people in the church at that time. She's still with us today, Georgia. But we took out a loan, renovated it, had gym equipment that I had in storage, and started the first one. And so, you know, you fast forward, and God put it in our hearts to start Oasis Church. And so out of that old way, if you will, of the old type of just the way that it was, we just said, there's more. There's more. And so in our hearts, we just knew that there would be more than just an 8,000 square foot facility, a Lord's Gym. There was more to the previous church that we felt in our hearts that we needed to take a leap of faith, a step of faith. So we decided it's time to go on to start Oasis Church. And that's where it's been birthed in our heart, the city center. Because the Lord's Gym was an 8,000 square foot facility for kids that had wonderful components, but then we believed for more. And that's where the birthing of the city center came into play. And people have asked, they said, well, the city center is not a gym, because it has gym components, but it's far more than a gym, as you know, and you see with the thousands of teenagers that use the facility, the adults, and also with our food bank, with Oasis Cares, that in this COVID time has fed the multitudes. And so we realized that what was is what can't be in the future. In other words, what brought us is not going to sustain us. It's time to really take it up a notch. And the dream that's been put in our hearts many years ago to become more of a reality. And it's been evident more and more, but watching it now come to pass, we knew it was time. And we knew it was time to take the old off of Lord's Gym, because that season has come and gone, and really ignite the two together for Oasis City Center. And that's where you're seeing behind us on the TV, the old letters come down, and what's coming up next is, I think, a collaboration of the two entities really becoming one, so the community could know they've always have been there. They've always been the heavy lifting, but it gives more, I think, stability for the community to know that we're not going anywhere, and the city center's not going anywhere.
So, Oasis, let's talk about that, because that's more than just a word to you. There's an experience behind it. There's some emotions behind it. Can you share why Oasis?
Yeah, that's a great question. The reason why we call it Oasis, and again, we have different Oasises, right? We have Oasis Church, Oasis Cares, and soon to be Oasis City Center. There'll be an Oasis apartment building for women and children coming soon. There'll be different things that Oasis will do. We have Oasis Kids for us, smaller children, Oasis Youth. But it's really more than a name to me. When I was a young man and living in a lot of pain and poverty, my dad had really, really gone off the deep end with drug addiction, and had really left us, left my mother, left myself and my brothers. And I was the youngest of three. And I was just a little boy at the time, maybe 8 or 9 years old. And we had been looking for my dad. He had been gone for weeks. And when we had some inkling where he was. And so my brothers, who were older than me at the time, we started looking for him. And I was a young kid in the car. And I'll never forget pulling up into this beat up dirt road, kind of hole in the wall, little shack, looking for my father. And the shack had a sign on it that said Oasis Card Room. And as a little boy in the backseat of that car, I looked at that sign, I looked at the dilapidation of the building, I looked at the pain of trying to search for a dad, and I said to myself as a little boy, that's not an oasis. And that had always stuck with me, what an oasis is and what oasis is not. And an oasis is a point of relief. in a time of a desert, in a time of something that you're looking for, you can find relief and refuge and strength in it. And that's always been in my heart. So it wasn't a name that we picked out of a book to call a church. It was something that we believed was a culture, that an oasis was a culture of relief, of help, of sustainability, and a place where people could find refuge and find some strength. And that's one of our, I guess, what I would call one of our core key values here, building strength, igniting possibilities. It's really an oasis. And so it's more than a church name. It's more than a gym name. It's more than a name to feed people. It's really our life. It's my life, Oasis. And the result of that was my father had received a lot of negative things in his life, a lot of bad, but as a result of my life being changed, turned over to the Lord, his life was changed. And we had a wonderful life together after the pain that lasted quite a long time before he went to be with the Lord. And so one of the reasons why Oasis Church exists out of our pain. And so I don't want that to happen to anybody else, is why we've decided to stay the course in this community and ignite hope and build an oasis for people in the midst of a desert, if you will.
Well, and I think, I know now, we're in this, 2.5 years. The city center has been here in Stockton, and it is an oasis, and it has become an oasis for kids and for some of our adult members without the name on the building, because it's that place of refuge. It's a place that they can come, they can feel loved and supported, and they know that people are going to be there for them, which makes this season even more difficult because we have to get creative in how we're going to stay connected with our kids and how we're going to stay connected with our members. But one thing is for sure, that in this time, Oasis has never gone anywhere. If anything, it's made our families even stronger. And so heading into this next season with Oasis City Center, there is a lot that we still get to do. There's a lot that we still want to do.
Sure.
What are some of those things that you still want to do?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because when we took on this building, and it was a dilapidated building, I mean, it had been dormant over 12 years, and I wanted it to be called Oasis City Center in 2016. And I was talked out of my dream. It's funny that, it was always in my heart, because we were coming out of the 8,000 square foot small Lord's gym. And I had said to somebody, I said, I really want to call it Oasis, because God's birthed that in us, and I know that that is our future. And I got talked out of my dream. And one of the reasons I was talked out of it was a logistical one. And it was legitimate. But it's like some people that are watching tonight, maybe you've been talked out of your dream. Don't let anybody talk you out of your dream, because here, fast forward 2.5 years, I'm going back to my original dream. And I was talked out of it because of this point right there you see on the sign, gym. Because they said, well, how are people going to come if they don't know it's a gym? And I said that day, years ago, but it's more than a gym. So speaking to that, the city center, Oasis City Center, is far more than a gym. The future for it is taking on vast transition of helping more people, of providing opportunities for scholarships, for jobs, for training, for all types of things, intern programs. I mean, things for adults, for kids, and for adolescents that is going to surpass a gym. And so I just have such a heart to help the community. We do as a whole, as a staff and as the volunteers, that there's so much more for us in the future, post-COVID, after this virus, that I think we are just tapping into. Pivoting and feeding the multitudes, taking the dash of salt, where giving young people an opportunity to learn a healthy cooking trade. Stuff you would never do at a gym, right? Working out and fitness, which is great, but learning spiritual and principles of life that will take you to your divine destiny. That's more than a gym. Basketball leagues, soccer leagues, volleyball leagues, things in the future that I think are so important for helping students and helping adults and building a community center, which is what Oasis City Center is, a community center. It's more than a gym. And so there's a lot of things that are on the verge of coming to a reality that we're really excited about.
Well, and the gym component isn't going anywhere.
No, it's not.
The gym component is now going to be one of the ways you can get involved.
Right.
So ultimately, our goal at the City Center, we want to help kids.
Right.
We want to help keep them off the street. We know that is our future, and we
Right.
really need to take some time to invest and plant those seeds. So while our focus has always been the kids, we are just going to kind of change the way everyone can get involved, whether you are donating, whether you're a volunteer, or if you have a gym membership. So the gym's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
So even with the sign change, because
Right.
we are, like you said, we're more than a gym.
And that's one of the things that has been, I think, for me personally, Heather, my challenge for Oasis Church and the Lord's Gym City Center is for Oasis Church that is watching tonight, the family, realizing it's theirs, it's for them, it's for their family, it's not just for the community. And the community to know that, hey, this is not just something that the government built or some individual handsome bald guy built. A church family built this. The Oasis Church family believed in this community enough, loved it enough, supported it enough that they invested their time, their talents, and their treasure, and they believed in this community to help. And so those two entities becoming really one unified factor post-COVID is really important for me, my family, and our staff, because they need to have a greater understanding, community and Oasis Church, that we're better together and that our arm of influence will reach far greater when we realize it's for everybody. It's for Oasis Church, their family. It's not just for the community, and the community realize, hey, there's a church that's not weird, it's not divisive, it's not threatening. It's not like if you come here, you're going to be indoctrinated with craziness. It's a place of love, a place of hope, a place of respect, a place of honor, and you'll learn a great principle of life that Jesus didn't come to take away anybody's fun, but he came to take away the pain. And that's what he did for me. And if people would realize that, they will be attracted to that. And that's why Oasis City Center is coming to a place of a reality with, it's always been, but the name change, I think, is important for the next season.
Oh, absolutely. The City Center would not exist without Oasis. In the last 2 years, Oasis has done so much behind the scenes, so much that people don't even really recognize.
Right.
And now, more than ever, you say we're better together, but together we're going to enhance the quality of life for so many people, whether it's giving them an outlet to work out, giving them access to free food and resources, or simply just being a voice for the kids to hear.
Right. And I think that's so good. Like an example that I would say, and we've always done it, and Oasis Church has always done it, but sometimes the community doesn't know, and maybe Oasis Church doesn't know, but our lunch programs, when school was in session, we would feed students every day. We'd feed them lunch and provide for them, not only after school programs and things for kids, but Oasis Church was doing that. But I think a lot of times because of the name and just because of the disconnect, that they didn't realize that that's us doing that. So I'm a part of something bigger than just a Sunday service or what I'm seeing being presented certain days. And I think that's really important because the community that's receiving that has to realize, wow, this is a church that is bigger than its four walls it meets on Sundays. This is an organization, a ministry that really believes and practices what they preach. And they live it out. And not only have we lived it out for the last 2.5 years, but we lived it out for the last 10 years. And the community a lot of times doesn't realize that. And even Oasis community, the people at Oasis, because there's a lot of new people, they don't realize, Heather, that we've always done this. But I think one of the, if I could call it drawbacks, has been all the different kind of names.
Yeah.
And I don't need to name them, but all the different names throughout the years of, well, this church name and this help name and this ministry name and Lord's Gym, and But now bringing them all together, I think is so important for post-COVID, that people will see and realize that we are stronger together than ever will we be apart. And COVID has taught us something. We need each other, and we need God. We need the Lord. And that's what Oasis City Center is all about. That's what our church is all about, to help people, to give them hope.
Just think of all those names. They're just chapters
Right.
in this book that you're writing.
Right. That's true.
The chapter of Oasis Cares.
That's right, the
So,
chapter.
Speaking of Oasis Cares, we are going to be distributing food again this Saturday.
Right.
Where and when, and can you give us all the details so those that are watching, if they are in need of food relief, because things just got a little bit tighter around here, they can come by and we can be a resource for them.
Well, one of the great things that Oasis Church, Oasis Cares, and the City Center has done is it pivoted when the shelter in place went into effect. Oasis Church went online and presented a fantastic service online for people to get help and hope. And so did the City Center. The City Center started pivoting and taking Oasis Cares and distributing food and hope to people. And we've been doing that at our location here at the City Center. But what we started doing, and this Saturday we'll be doing it, is we moved it to our church location, which is right behind the mall. And the reason we did that, so we can help more people, because the parking lot is a lot larger to facilitate the cars and to help them get through the line more efficiently. And so it's 4950 Claremont, right behind the mall, Oasis Church. Again, Oasis City Center, Oasis Church. And that will be a great place for relief and help for a drive-through distribution this Saturday and Saturdays following from 9 to 11.
So we have this incredible partnership with Second Harvest, which is a Feeding America food partner. But because of that partnership, there is a lot of paperwork that we do need filled out. It is pretty quick, so come early. The lines typically start, well, they started on Sunday at like 6:30 in the morning, and they looped around the parking lot. So make sure that you come, bring your ID, and every person in each household does need their own ID, and will have to fill out paperwork as well.
Yeah, no, what's exciting is this Saturday, 9 to 11, 4950 Claremont, the people, a little bit of paperwork to do, but the access and the wonderful produce and the meats and the things that your team and we're able to give, it's just phenomenal. I mean, it's second to none. It's wonderful to be able to help at that capacity.
Yeah, lots of delicious goodies in those boxes, that's for sure. Well, we are just about out of time. We want to give everyone, time to wind down, get the kids to bed. But we want to help answer any questions that you guys might have about this name change. So be sure, throw them in the comments. We'll get back to you. We're going to come back next week and talk, because there's going to be a different sign on this building next Monday, correct?
There will be. Yeah, and as we move forward after this virus, as everything is so uncertain right now, there's one thing that could be certain, is that there's hope in the Lord. That when you find that hope, you find peace. And that's one thing I think the name change will represent. It's what us staying the course and helping the community will represent, that people can find hope and that they can find peace. Because in that peace, they'll have that power, and that power to overcome this difficult season, because we are all in this together. Whether you fall on this conspiracy or that, or you think this is legit, it's irrelevant to the fact that we're all in it together and we need each other.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Like I said, we're going to be back next week. There'll be a different sign on this building, and we're going to share what's to come.